Do you guys remember a little theme of LEGO by the name of Hero Factory? Hero Factory was honestly an epic theme of LEGO that ran from 2010 to 2014. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about what it did right, how it succeeded, and finally, its demise and destruction. We're going to be ranking it by its initial concept, by the LEGO sets themselves, the action figures and whatnot. We're going to also be ranking it by the TV show, so we're going to be ranking it in those three areas. And finally, we're going to look at why I think Hero Factory failed and why it's not in existence today. The concept. Now, Hero Factory has a very straightforward, simple concept, which honestly works very well into kind of the theme that it's going into, these big action figures. There's not a lot you can do besides the action figures themselves. So basically the concept of Hero Factory is it's this universe where everyone is a robot and they are powered by what is called Quasistone, and they make it into hero cores and place it into the heroes, and that's what powers them. But of course, a lot of the times in the seasons and everything, the villains want to steal the Quasistone and take control of the power source, which is the hero cores. The concept is very simple. You have heroes fighting villains. It's basically cops and robbers. The heroes, in one of the seasons, the heroes are actually trying to handcuff the villains and take them back to prison. Extremely simple. Good versus evil. All you gotta do is make a bunch of lively, fun heroes, and then also, along with that, you gotta make a bunch of evil, maniacal villains. So, the concept is extremely simple, but I'm going to give the concept a 7 out of 10. The only reason it may not be a 10 out of 10 is because the concept might be a little bit too simple. But we'll get to that later. The next category we're going to look at Hero Factory by is the LEGO sets themselves. The main character, Ferno, was bright red. You've got Stormer, who's white, Surge, who's blue, Breeze, who is green, Nex, who is yellow. A lot of very bright, vibrant colors for these heroes, which really works well. Another amazing thing about the LEGO sets is once you have a bunch of these heroes, you can mix them up and create a lot of your own. And that's really the fun of LEGO, is you want to break your sets down and build your own stuff, and that works very well for Hero Factory. You couldn't build much more than just different variants of heroes, but still, you can make a lot of heroes. You can make them look very cool, or you can make them look very weird. But it was just a lot of fun to play with these heroes. I loved all the different versions of the heroes. The Wave 1 heroes were just so amazing and very nostalgic for me. The second wave of Hero Factory was probably the weakest in terms of hero design. The heroes just looked a little wacky and they needed more head covering. Season 3 was a really interesting take on the heroes as they all got suited up in kind of like animal form. Ferno was a eagle right here, and he was an awesome character. Stormer, a rhino. Bulk, I think, was a wolf. There were just a lot of really cool designs that they used here. At this point, they started bringing in XL versions of the heroes, like Rocka XL. This was a step in the right direction. In Season 4, you got kind of a throwback to the original heroes, but new and improved. They had handcuffs and awesome meter ball shooters. And like I said before, Stormer XL is buff. In Season 5, the heroes got these new visors and were more like warriors, with XL Ferno having a literal cape, which looks next level. And then of course in Wave 6, they shrunk the heroes down but gave them larger than life mechs to ride around and fight giant monsters with. The villains in Hero Factory were amazing. I love Va Nebula, and some of the other wacky designs were just so cool. I like how in each season they were able to make the villains just a little bit different, and so you're able to kind of distinguish them apart. The most unique villain is probably Jawblade, who came in Season 4. He's a shark basically that swims underwater and attacks Ferno. My personal favorite heroes had to be either Surge or Stormer. And I'm probably going to lean more towards Stormer because he was in more seasons. And my favorite hero was Stormer XL from Season 4 Breakout. He's definitely been hitting the gym quite a bit. I love this action figure. Sadly, I was never able to get my hands on it, mainly because I spent all my money on Shima back then, but still a very cool character. And probably my favorite villain was Dragon Bolt, another unique villain from the Brain Attack wave, and this blue lightning dragon was just so epic. Dragons in Hero Factory, you can't really ask for more. In the 6th wave of Hero Factory, they actually made smaller heroes, and we actually have all of them right here. Plus we made a custom Stringer And these minifigures were just so much fun. And now I just have them sitting on my shelf and they're just a nice little display piece. In 2018, me and my little brother Anthony actually made our own theme of Hero Factory, where like robot dinosaurs attack Maku Hero City. Here's a bunch of pictures of what it looked like. It was just a lot of fun to make. We used a lot more bricks and stuff, but we used the miniature minifigures. I even made the Heroes headquarters, which is super fun. So that's one of my more fond memories of Hero Factory, and just rebuilding that world in our own way was just a lot of fun. I love the Hero Factory line of Lego sets, and I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. They did a really good job, and the only reason I'm not putting it higher is because these are buildable action figures, and it's not quite as cool as Lego. In my opinion, you have Technic sets that are kind of down here. I don't enjoy building them necessarily. The pieces are useful. Hero Factory are fun to build. The pieces are not very useful and can't be used for a lot of other mock building. They can, but you have to be very creative. And then original, just the Lego brick is like top tier. So these are tier down. The idea of buildable action figures is never going to be as great as just minifigures and Lego bricks. Now for the last area of Hero Factory we're going to examine, and this is the TV show. There were 6 seasons of this TV show, and you're probably like, 6 seasons? That is insane. But they were really like mini series. Each one of them had 1 to 2 22-minute long episodes. I think the longest season was probably the first season with 3 to 4 episodes. I kind of forget. The heroes in the show were Preston Sturmer, Natalie Breeze, Mark Surge, Jimmy Stringer, Nex and Evo, Rocka, William Furno, and Duncan Bolt. I honestly love these names, and it just gives the characters more personality. Fun fact, the voice of Va Nebula was actually done by the same voice as Luke Skywalker, which is really cool, and the voice of Rocka was done by the same voice as SpongeBob, which is interesting. Fascinating. I think my 2 favorite seasons were Savage Planet, a season where they go to this planet where they mine Plaza Stone. They have to fight a bunch of these different animals, and it's honestly a very fun, adventurous season. And then I think my favorite season has to be Breakout, a season with every single hero and a ton of villains that break out from Maku Hero City, and the heroes have to go cuff them and bring them back to prison. I love Rocka's storyline in that, where he's kind of protecting the hero base, and then that one villain takes control and has a bunch of little spiders. It's just a really fun season. I think my least favorite season is probably season 2. It's only 1 episode. It's the fire one with the fire villains, and they're on like this mining planet. I honestly forget the name. Did not do enough research for this video. I'm sorry guys. The reason I like them so much is just a lot of nostalgia. Watching them as a kid was a lot of fun. The characters were kind of one note and didn't have a lot of character development, or weren't that deep. The villains were like your stereotypical villain, laughing, evil plan to like take over, you know, the world, and it's just very generic. The jokes like literally never hit. The jokes were just very, very cringy, and they definitely could have done better with the jokes, but you know. And also the animation was a lot of fun, pretty good for the time, being 2010 to 2014, not bad. So for the Hero Factory TV show, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Compared to Chiba, Nexonites, Ninjago, there's not nearly as much content there, but honestly, like Nexonites, a lot of the episodes are just very, very boring. In Hero Factory, I feel like just having 1 to 2 episodes means you have to really just focus in on this story, and it's sweet and it's short and it doesn't really need to be much longer. They're kind of just made as a commercial for the toys. So now we get to the hard part for all of us Hero Factory fans. Why is Hero Factory not in existence today? And I think there are kind of 2 major reasons. They ran out of original stories and sets. There's only so many times you can make Furno before it gets kind of old and you go, I don't need another one of these. Like with Ninjago, yeah, there are like 30 different versions of Kai, but you get different unique sets that go with it. Like you get temples or a bike, but there's sets that go along with them. For Hero Factory, it was just the characters, and it gets kind of repetitious, kind of boring. And I think all of this comes down to the concept was just too simple. There's not a lot to Hero Factory. It's a very simple story. I feel like a good balance is Ninjago, right? Ninjago is still, it's got this amazing world and world building and lore, and there's so much to it now, but it's grown over time, and you can add new characters and stuff, and it makes sense. I think a too complicated might be Dreams. There's just a lot that doesn't really make sense in that world. There's a lot of just kind of plot holes, like what is going on? Like, how does this work? And then you have Hero Factory, which is just way too simple. Just villains versus heroes. So I feel like Ninjago kind of hit that good middle ground where it's not too simple of a story, but it's also not too complicated of a story. The second reason is in 2015, literally a year after Hero Factory quit, they rebooted their theme Bionicles, which was actually kind of a flop and did not work. It lasted maybe 2 years before just falling off again. And I don't think they wanted Hero Factory and Bionicles running at the same time. They kind of just cut Hero Factory to make way for their new reboot of Bionicles. We haven't really gotten a fun action figure theme of LEGO. Sure, they tried it for Chima, kind of creepy. They tried it for Star Wars, even creepier. They've done it for some other stuff, and honestly, I don't think it ever quite landed the way it did for Bionicle and Hero Factory. And at the end of the day, Hero Factory was awesome. A nice little chunk of my childhood I spent building heroes, having fun watching the show. I was actually too young for Bionicle, so when Hero Factory came out, I was like 10-ish, 9-ish, around that age. So Hero Factory gets 21 points out of a full 30 points. So comment down below what other brick lore videos you want to see. Thank you for listening to me ramble on and on about random LEGO. Peace out. Stop recording!